Metsing, it's expected to spend another full day before the SADC Commission of Inquiry into the death of the former army commander Maaparankoe Mahao. Yesterday, Metsing focused on the background of the political situation from 2007 to the reign of the former Prime Minister Tom Thabane. He says Thabane unilaterally made changes to the military command and bowed to pressure from his party at the expense of the coalition partners. Now, for the latest, we are now joined on the line by Nthakoana Ngatane from Maseru, our correspondent there in Lesotho. Ngatane, a very good morning to you and welcome. Can you take us through yesterday's session?
Indeed, Elvis. Good morning. Metsing, the Deputy Prime Minister here in Lesotho, serving his second term as Deputy Prime Minister because he was Deputy Prime Minister during Tom Thabane's reign, and he's Deputy Prime Minister again in this coalition of 7 parties. And he started with events from as far back as 2007, as you've said, and indicating that even then, when he was a Minister of Communications and the Secretary General of the then ruling Lesotho Congress for Democracy, that's when relations broke down between himself and the now opposition here in Lesotho. And he related incidents that he said were tantamount to a coup, where at the time, the Mahao that we are now talking about, as well as the Kamudi that we're now talking about, acted in concert as members of the army to quell the opposition. First, Mahao evicted members of the opposition from parliament, and then Kamudi dealt with former members of the army who were apparently in alliance with the opposition at the time to try and cause instability in the country. And this is the picture that Metsing painted. He then went forward and talked about his former superior, Tom Thabane, painting him as a man who was under pressure from his party and worked against his coalition partners here in Lesotho, ended up appointing Mahao and removing Kamudi against the advice of his coalition partners, and firing or trying to fire the Director of Public Prosecutions as well as the Attorney General, as well as making several other appointments within the government here in Lesotho. And this is the kind of picture that Metsing painted. And he said that there was something called a resource group that was working with Thabane at the time from within his party that made him work against the coalition and advised him against the advice of the coalition here in Lesotho. And this, in a nutshell, was his testimony to the commission. And at the end of the day, Judge Mpapi Pumapi, the chairperson, said to him, "You seem to be going into a lot of color in terms of all of this. Can you shorten it? And we'll give you an hour this morning when we come back." But as I speak now, he's still in his testimony, and quite a charming witness, I might add, Elvis. And right now, as the commission was going to another break, the judge again tried to say to him, "Can you please shorten your testimony?" But he said, "Please give me a few more minutes to finish," because he needs the commission, he says, to understand the context of Lesotho. And he says he wants the commission to understand just how many attempts he made, him and other coalition partners, to get Thabane to work with them before the coalition actually broke down. Elvis.
So he has got an hour to finish, or for a couple more minutes. What is expected to happen further today?
Well, what is expected to happen further today, after he finishes his testimony, the commission is expected to cross-examine him. The judge has already tried to do that quite a number of times, interrupting him from time to time as he was speaking, particularly on the issue of whether or not the king's legal notices that the advice of the Prime Minister, that come as a result of the advice of the Prime Minister, are binding. And Metsing said to the chair, no, in fact, as far as he's concerned, legal notices are only binding if they comply with legal processes. And one would assume that means that, for instance, the coalition agreement here in Lesotho. So we expect more of the cross-examination when they come back. We expect cross-examination from lawyers representing the Mahao family, lawyers representing detained soldiers who are eager to cross-examine Metsing here at this commission. Elvis?
Who are the other high-profile officials that are expected to testify at the commission?
Well, at this point in time, the commission only releases names as they come along, because some of these witnesses prefer to testify in camera. You remember that we had the Army Commander Kamudi testifying last week. Largely, his evidence will be in camera. He only testified partly in public. And Metsing as well has said that a lot of issues that will deal with the more confidential issues that were dealt with by the cabinet, he will deal with in camera. And we expect that the other witnesses that we don't know perhaps will testify in camera. We understand that some of them are from the Lesotho Defence Force itself. But of course, the lawyers representing Thabane here have said that he will come to this commission. You will remember that he's still in exile in South Africa. Whether he will come to the commission physically or he will be in camera where the commission will go to him, that is yet to be seen. Elvis.
How long is this commission supposed to run, Nthakoana?
The commission was initially supposed to go on for 60 days, but following the revision of the terms of reference and re-looking at its work, the time was revised to 90 days. So it has yet maybe another 2 months or so to be sitting, sometimes in public and sometimes in camera, but we expect it for the total time to be 90 days, and then it will be done and come up with its outcome.
Nthakoana, thank you so much for that report. That was our correspondent Nthakoana Ngatane from Maseru in Lesotho, updating us about the SADC Commission of Inquiry into the death of the former Army Commander Maaparankoe Mahao.